Enciso. Oh, it's fabulous! A strike to get you up off your seats.
Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social Season 4, still just, episode 42. We're joined by Ben and Jack. I did so nearly say Mads then as well, which would have been very hilarious.
Jack does have a lot of similarities to Mads, to be fair. It's an easy mistake.
It is an easy mistake. I mean, I think if you stood them side by side, they are near identical. But Jack,
literally.
now that I've got onto the subject of your appearance somehow, how are you, mate? How was Newcastle?
Yeah, good weekend up there. Had a 3 days up there. Heavy one. You get free trebles for a tenner in a pub I went in. Free trebles for a tenner. That was insane value. So shout out the Dog and Parrot pub. But other than that, no, it's good weekend. Had a lot of fun. Pretty relaxed game, to be honest. I think we didn't really have too much to lose. So just sort of enjoyed it really. Lovely weather as well, like obscenely good. Every other time I've been to Newcastle, it's been like mid-December, late November, something like that.
Freezing cold.
And it's just been bleak, and it was so nice up there. So it was good.
Agree. And Ben, mate, you're in Manchester, weren't you? Got caught in the iconic storm that was.
Yeah, literally, it's the most beautiful day. And then as soon as we were meant to film at like 6:30, as soon as the Arsenal Man United game finished, it just poured down. The heavens opened, and it was insane. So somehow managed to still interview some fans.
In the process.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, the images from Old Trafford were insane. Like they looked like there were waterfalls leaking from the roof. Must be so embarrassing because obviously all the Man United fans, well, not all of them, but a lot of them stayed in the stadium to avoid the storm, but they were still getting wet in the stadium with the roof over their head. So it was quite funny. Just shows where that club is. But it's been a busy weekend. I wasn't able to watch the game obviously fully. I was working on the Saturday, but I caught most of it whilst working. So hopefully my boss isn't listening to this. But yeah, managed to watch most of it.
Fair play. I mean, to be honest, I agree with Jack. It was a very good weekend, and I don't know about you, Jack, but I felt like the atmosphere was very, very good from our end. It felt like anyway. And I mean, our away end was quite good. I mean, maybe it was because we had nothing to lose and we didn't have the, sort of worries and the moaners that we're not going to get Europe or we're going to lose again. I thought actually we made a decent account of ourselves considering there was a few people talking about gaps, wasn't there? But I thought we were quite good, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean we didn't sell out the full allocation, which is fair enough, really. Newcastle, our longest trip of the season, we still brought a good 2K, which I think is really, really impressive for the distances we've travelled this season, if you take into account all the European games. And I just think everybody was, the 3 p.m. kickoff, everybody was sort of happy. We'd had a win last week on the piss. It was just sort of, let's just enjoy it. And we had a very outside chance, and I think I was trying to big up the expectations before the game. I think there would have been some crazy turn of events where if we'd won all 3 of our games and then there'd been some losses all round, I think we would have done it. But, that was a very outside chance. So I think it was just kind of, let's go here, let's play a bit of football, let's see what we can get from what is arguably one of the hardest places to go in the league. I don't think there's many teams who come. I mean, you look at some of the, Arsenal, arguably, probably slightly outsiders for the title, and they lost there this season. So I think we gave a really good account of ourselves.
Sorry, Jack, how many miles do you reckon you've done on your app?
Yeah,
you've got that away day app because obviously,
I haven't worked it out at all. They don't work out the miles on there for you. But if you take into account, we must be touching 10k. I mean, that was a 700-mile round trip to Newcastle. So add into that Athens and all of that, we're probably over 10k now at this point. And considering the lengths you go up and down the country, and then that's before you even take into account how much ground hopping I've done this season to various long distance ones. I dread to think how many
you
miles.
called me out to Three Bridges last week, and I thought that was a little bit far, to be honest, at that time of night.
Exactly.
Thursday night in Three Bridges, maybe a little bit too much of an ask, but no, Jack Albion will be there 100%. The only thing 100%. I haven't seen you at, Jack, is a Storrington game, and I'm still holding you to it. I want to see you again.
Next season, it's going to be done.
Next season for a little collab. It has
next
to be
season.
Done. It has to be done, especially with champions season. Now.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
I'm holding you to it. I'm holding you. And we'll probably get to a final of some sort of cup or something.
Yeah.
So you should be there too. Anyways, back to the Premier League from grassroots. No, I agree with Jack. I thought we did very well. I thought maybe when I said that we deserved to win immediately after the game was a little bit of a stretch upon watching it back. But I do think we did enough to be able to be in the lead at half time. I thought the way we conceded, I don't know about you, Ben, but considering how well we played, I thought, Enciso, Adingra, just to name a couple of the amount of chances that we had, we could have gone into the first half good 2 or 3-0 up, and that's not actually an exaggeration either.
I know, yeah, it was so frustrating, especially the minute it was like so close to half time. You're thinking, if we didn't concede, then potentially we're going on to win that game and maybe score another one. But just mentioning the chances, someone sent into one of my Brighton chats. It was probably the most insane stat I've ever seen. So it goes, the worst conversion rates in the Premier League since the beginning of March. Brighton 1.1%, Everton 4.8%, and Liverpool 6%. So we've got the worst conversion rate. And someone said, it's pretty telling. How come only 1% of shots end up in the goal? That's one goal from almost 100 attempts since March. One goal from 100 attempts. Yeah, our conversion is horrendous at the moment. So we need to sort that out big time just to get the confidence back in the players. But I think it's starting to turn a little bit. Like Enciso's performance was a really, really good one. So hopefully he can carry that on for the rest, for the last couple of games. Maybe get himself a goal, and then next year be our star player like we thought he was going to be this season.
I mean, you look at the amount of rotation we've had, though. I mean, that's where I'd break down the stat, and I'd say, if João Pedro was starting every game and didn't get his injuries that he's had, Danny Welbeck, if he was able to actually play every week and every minute, we've had a lot of rotation, haven't we? So I think, Jack, say for example, Ansu Fati. I know he's not exactly the most clinical finisher in the world, but when we look to him from Barcelona, he was meant to be one of those players that was going to help that cause. But there's been a lot of problems going forward, obviously losing March, Mitoma. Those are massive, massive names that I've listed there that haven't actually been able to play every game. And Julio is another one to add to that list as well until recently. So would you put down that to confidence, or would you put it down to personnel, Jack?
A little bit of both. I think that there's been a lot of... I know when we're in really bad form, it's funny how that's flipped a little bit now, though. We've had a couple of good results, hasn't it? From De Zerbi's the worst manager in the world, sack him, to, he's doing fine. Look, we
Brighton Twitter in a nutshell.
Yeah, I know. But the one thing I will say is, we can blame injuries. A lot of people said we can't blame injuries. We can. I think
we can.
The more and more you look at it, Mitoma output last season, and even at the first half of the season, he's ridiculous for making clear-cut chances. The way he takes around defenders and then just basically rolls it along the goal line for someone to nod in or to put in. I think the quality of chances we're actually doing with attempts are not very good. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but it's sort of because we haven't got these players like March and Mitoma to put things on a plate for people. I mean, we've still got Gross, who does a pretty good job of it. But I think
only Gross, to be fair.
Only Gross. And I think what the problem is, a lot of these attempts are shots from range, maybe slightly further out, more difficult chances, and that's probably why
when we actually shoot, because we barely ever shoot anyway.
Yeah, and we work so hard to get these chances. So for me, I'm not too worried about that. I think it will come. I just think we need everyone back, and maybe a couple more depth signings on the wing. I did think Adingra had a very good game actually, but he is. And this is not a massive criticism, because I do think he's been quite harshly criticised this season, just because of the role he's had to play rather than the role he should have played. He is very wasteful with chances, and I think that's because he's not quite the finished product yet.
Finished product.
Yeah.
I agree. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned Adingra, because he is definitely an exciting player. He gets you off your feet. He does skip round players quite successfully. He is very good on the turn. His first touch is, maybe a little bit 50-50 sometimes, but I mean, the amount of times he gets himself into such a good position to put a simple ball across, or even just have a go himself, there's not really much conviction. Again, it's one of them things that you can't put down to him completely, because of the amount, Jack, the amount of games he's had to play. Sorry, Jack,
my mate said
Go on.
That's right. My mate said that Adingra needs to have a rocket shoved up his arse, and I feel like that was probably just to get him over that final line, the clinical line. He just needs something to just give him that little bit of edge. But maybe he is just completely knackered after the season he's had and things like that. I'm guessing that's probably down to it.
I think he'll be all right. He'll be a good player. I think that's what he is, and he will be a good player. I think, obviously, you mentioned Mitoma, you mentioned March, João Pedro. These are really, really, really top players. The top players, particularly Mitoma. And I think he's really warped our perception of how good he is, and how much we should expect from, say, Adingra, for example. Because, I can't put it into words as to how good Mitoma is and was for us. He will be again, but we don't know when he's back. But the amount of times that he would complete even the most simple of runs and put a decent ball across, the outside of the boot sort of attempts that he would play so many times, for Evan Ferguson, for example, last season. It's a very, very, very high quality. And Jack, I'm sure you're probably going to say the same thing, but you can't necessarily expect that from someone like Adingra, who's got a good 5 or 6 years on him, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Adingra is like he was meant to come in as sort of our wild card for the season. I would say he was.
Exactly,
there was always rumours that he might go out on loan again or something like that. And I think he came in as a bench option. And he looked really good when we were rotating players. We weren't solely relying on him. But at the end of the day, this second half of the season, he's been our only option out wide. And he's done really well. He's done a decent enough output for the season. I think if we didn't have the expectations of Mitoma and some other players, we probably wouldn't worry so much. So hopefully next season he could sort of maybe take a little bit of a backseat and become the exciting off the bench player he was meant to be this season, and with a little bit more experience of the Premier League. Because I think people are forgetting like the Belgian League and the Premier League, very, very different leagues. Very. And
you see Adingra as well when he went to AFCON. We missed him. We missed him a lot. And again, I remember the players' messages saying, "Good luck, Simon, but we want you back." And every fan was in agreement that we missed him, because if we didn't play the role that he has played this season, we would. I dread to think, to be honest, the amount of chances we would create would genuinely only be through Pascal Gross. We wouldn't have had much else, because Pedro missed a good portion of that time that Adingra was out for as well. So, there's a lot of variables, but I think Adingra will be a good player. To get onto the subject of the actual game, though, of all people talking about goals, I probably wouldn't have given it to Joel Veltman. But it was actually a very good finish. He's got in there well. He's battled very well. I think it was Welbeck won the header initially. Ben, I probably didn't take enough credit for it at the moment. To be honest, it was actually quite a good moment as well. But did you see Joel Veltman scoring from that situation? And the corners actually being half decent yesterday or day before.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I think he's probably the last person you expect to score. I think the commentator was saying like he gets one goal a season and that was it. And it usually comes at the end of the season. I feel like, what was it? Was it last year against West Ham? The previous one was against Palace, maybe.
West Ham again as well.
Don't worry, I'm here to save the day here.
Yeah, go on.
Last season it was a corner against West Ham where he sort of chested it in. Then the season before that, he scored on the final day of the season, which was when he came in on the edge of the box and Fabianski spilled
against West Ham, wasn't it?
Against West Ham again. Yeah. And then before that, it was Crystal Palace. So those are the 3 seasons.
Lockdown game, left-footed.
Yeah, those are 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 3 seasons we've had him, and then he scored 1. And actually, weirdly, providing he doesn't score or assist another goal, and I'd love him to score or assist another goal this season, he would have had 1 goal and 1 assist in all 4 seasons he's played for the club, which is bizarre.
It's great, actually.
Because
it guarantees something.
Yeah.
It can guarantee something. There's something to look forward to. It's a Joel Veltman goal at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good moment, and I think it was a shame in how we threw that away afterwards, because I thought after that we played very, very well. And it was only really that chance that was Anthony Gordon made. I think he pulled it back to the Longstaff. And it was only once Veltman went off, that's when I think we had that problem. I think if Veltman stayed on, not to discredit Tarek, because I thought Tarek was actually all right yesterday, day before, I keep saying yesterday. I thought Tarek was actually all right. But he does get done. He does get sucked in a little bit. So it did let them get around him quite easily. But I think if Joel was on the pitch there, Ben, I think we would probably not have conceded that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But on the other side, did you guys see the? I think it was in the first half we had a goal kick and Eagle was really, really high up, and like Dunk and De Zerbi were absolutely livid at him. I don't know if you guys saw that in the stands. He was so high up, and Dunk was like, "Get Eagle, get back!" And De Zerbi was like throwing his hands in the air on the touchline, like, really? Go back, like offer help. Like, it's almost like he completely forgot what he needed to do in that situation. I thought that was quite a strange one. Yeah, Dunk was livid at him.
I thought all round we had a really decent performance on Saturday. I think left the ground. I think, end of the season there's been so much talk of, we're not going to get another point all season. We're going to lose every game.
That was me. I thought that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
proudly.
And we've done really well. And I think there were some really, really good performances on. It's a real shame Enciso had to come off because I think he would have nabbed a goal, but he was on a yellow, and obviously we don't want him getting injured again. I thought Webster, for second game in a row, like standout, was so good, so solid on the ball. Like, yeah, I don't know. I've probably been one of Webster's biggest critics recently. I saw him playing an under-23 game, and he was, all credit to him, but he was so poor in that game. And I started to go, maybe he needs to move on, but maybe it was to kick up the arse, like your friend said about Adingra, that he needed. And he's been really, really good since he's come in. He's been solid. He hasn't been making mistakes. I've been really, really impressed with Webster. So all power to him too, if he wants to, get his way back into contention to be a first choice player, because, we know he's got the potential. Like I think you mentioned it, Ryan. We were talking about England shouts a few years ago, and there's no reason why he's not too old. There's no reason why he can't get himself back up to that level. So he's gone, probably in my mind, from I want to sell him in the summer to, I don't have a choice, but I wouldn't mind seeing him sold in the summer to, first team option for next season. I mean, he's probably the best fourth choice centre back in the league, really.
He's very
best
he's
fourth
very good.
choice.
And I think he's been very good for us over the last few years. I think people just forget it. He did go through a bad run, and you can't hide that. He did do very poorly, and he'd admit it. I think he did admit it before the game. They said about him being injured, missing a fair portion of the season. He said, no, let's not cover this up. He said, Van Heck has been very good and he's deserved to be in front of me. And that's a very, very, very respectful thing to say, and respectable thing to say, should I say. And yeah, I really like him. He just seems like a good guy. Obviously Sussex boy as well, which always is nice when they're representing Brighton. But as well, just all-round player. I think he was our first proper ball player, wasn't he, that we got when we got him from Bristol City, and remember you said then Webster runs, and Bristol City fans would always tell us, oh yeah, Webster's going to always try and take the ball out, and we, under Houghton before that, we had no idea what that even meant. So he was the first one that really showed us that, and I think we always forget maybe where Webster was and how good he was for us. Whilst being prone to the odd mistake. But I'm glad you mentioned as well. Oh, who did you say? God, it's gone out of my head now. Enciso. Yes. Look, right. You know what I'm going to say? I watched the highlights back on Match of the Day. And I love Julio. I absolutely love Julio. Julio has to be one of my favourite players at the moment. He's one of the most exciting players. He will go on to be, if he keeps his head right and keeps staying at this club for hopefully a lot longer, one of our best ever attackers. However, and I'm really sorry to do this, but this was the most horrendous dive I think I've ever seen. And I called out Ben White quite passionately, and I have to simply do the same because I don't want to be the person that's a hypocrite and doesn't call out their own players.
No, be a hypocrite.
Julio,
don't say it, please.
Julio was
I don't even know. I saw
this
on Twitter. I don't even remember this happening.
Do you not? I remember him going down. Gordon did the same. Almiron did the same, right? And there's it's awful. It really is. And if it was just Almiron's one, I would be absolutely raging saying, Almiron, that's embarrassing, you're a disgrace, get up. And I did say that. But at the same time, you have to say the same thing. We don't want to see it. I just don't like it. And I don't mind it. No, I don't. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. I can't even pretend to put on a thing where I say, I like this side of the game. It's experience and it's buying a foul. It's cringy and it's just not good. I don't like it. It's the wrong part of football. I'll let you guys take it from here. But I'm
not doing a Wenger, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I have no idea what
it
is.
Have you watched it back?
I'm not just saying it to back him. No.
I'm not saying it to back him.
I can't even find it.
I can't even think when in the game that was.
It was... I don't actually know who pushed him. He was going round a defender. I'll just say defender because that's what matched to you anyway. And they sort of put their arms out, and he's gone like that, and he may have sort of just scraped him. I'm going to pull it up because we can't play it obviously on.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I'm trying to find it on Twitter, mate. I can't find it.
Well, anyway, moving on from Julio, we'll just forget about it.
Yeah, moving on.
Never did that. I thought he did have a very good performance. I think Brighton have just put up a video of us doing 4 nutmegs throughout the game.
That was good. That's a good moment.
Which is really weird. I remember noticing it at the time in the game. I just remember thinking, like, why are we nutmegging so many players?
And Enciso did it, didn't he?
And
Enciso, Adingra and Welbeck, was it?
Yeah, and Moda.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was
because I said to me and my dad were like, "Oh my god, Moda's just nutmeg someone. That is just not what I expected to see today."
I think we had a really skillful game going forward. We look really good at times. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought we were very good, and I love the way we play at the moment. I think we've really found our way back. We've almost proven we've got a bit of a plan B, which was a massive critic of De Zerbi recently. Does he have a plan B? A lot of people saying he didn't. However, he's proven in the last few games that we do. I think we've almost reverted back similarly to what we used to do. But I don't know about you, Jack, but I feel like there's a little bit more defensive-minded stuff that's going on at the moment. The last 2 games has proven that a little bit. We can grind it out. We deserved the 1-0 win against Villa, and we didn't deserve anything less than a draw at Newcastle. But I think we got what we deserved in both games against 2 very good teams.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing, and this is what I was even talking to Newcastle fans about this, and I was just saying, like, what I really liked about our performance today was we weren't very nice, and this probably isn't great after you just said.
I'm really happy that you said this.
Yeah, like we're not very good at. I've always noticed this for years with Brighton, and I don't know whether every team does this. I don't know whether this is me just sort of thinking about this, but I always note that we're just too nice to the other team. Like we're too. We don't really partake.
We got booed at the end, didn't we? Yeah. By the Newcastle fans.
We don't really partake in the gamesmanship as much as I'd like us to do. And you know what? Yesterday we were just a bit shithousey. We were doing stuff that I moaned at Fulham and Villa for. I remember, I think, was it the final minute of the game? I think the very final second, Dubravka rolled out the ball for a free kick, was literally about to run up and take the free kick, and Welbeck just sat down on the floor and made the substitution side. And I was just like, that was perfect. That was perfect timing if you're going to do that. And I don't know. I quite liked it. I think we've needed that. I think probably our downfall over the last few years, and why we maybe haven't gone as high, is in some of those moments we just don't know how to be a little bit evil.
And those, I might be saying something ridiculous here, but I swear, if you do that consistently, I reckon you're getting at least 3 or 4 points more than you would at the end of the season.
And this is not a criticism.
And look where those points could get you.
And this is not a criticism of their 2 teams, because I do think they play good football at times. But look at Fulham and Villa. Like Fulham, probably a more limited team than, they maybe would be in that. They're a lot better than when they last came up, but they've gone up to a new level, and they've been twats the way they do it, and it's just all part of the game. It's the same with Villa. Like Villa have, you look at some of the results they've got this season: 1-0 against Arsenal and City and stuff like that.
They do it to us, don't they? They try it, and I think we actually counteracted it a little bit.
Yeah, and they've got those wins by being horrible and being shithouses, and it works. It works every time.
It does. And Bart's quite good at it, That's actually one thing. We will get onto Verbruggen's overall goalkeeping performance. But actually, one of the biggest things that did help was when he would take his time with the ball and then sort of give it over to Dunk and get the... it's getting them aggravated, isn't it? It's trying to frustrate them. And it does work, because that's when the crowd are a little bit edgier. That's when they expect a little bit more than they would do if we didn't do it. And I think that's when...
I was going to say, it feeds into our A game so well, because our plan A is invite the press and play around it with really neat passing. If you can get these players frustrated, they're just going to literally, as soon as that ball leaves Verbruggen's feet,
lose composure, right?
They're just going to run at you. And if we're composed and we can pass it around properly, that's then we're just straight on the counter. And I thought we were getting back to doing that on Saturday. And then at the end of the day, it's not going to work against a team like City because that's why they're so good. They're composed in their press and they don't panic at stuff and they just get the ball back off you. And that's why they're so good. Just more City praise from me. But it's
they're impossible not to with City.
Yeah, I thought
I watched this for them. Mate, they're just. I watch sometimes just what they've been doing. Vardy, mate. It's just
Pep's turned him into a left winger. He's literally gone from a centre back to a left back to like a left winger to an unbelievable striker.
Yeah,
I think he scored 5 goals in 7 games.
Yeah, it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in football, and that's saying something. Whenever Pep invents something, I love it. And when he puts a centre back on a left wing and he gets 5 goals in 7 games, it's impossible not to be impressed by that, whether you hate them or love them, and how much money they've spent. Anyway, but yes, Verbruggen. Sorry, Ben. Very good. Very good with his hands, very good with his feet, and I think that's one thing that we've probably not seen as much from him as we do with Steele, is maybe so much patience and so good with the ball. But he was playing a little bit more like a midfielder with his passing, Ben, and that was something that was nice to see for a De Zerbi system, which every goalkeeper needs nowadays.
Yeah, he's obviously been working on it, and who better to work on it than with Jason Steele as well. So I'm just really looking forward to a full season with Verbruggen as number 1 because... we were so done very quickly with the goalkeeper rotation. A lot of people were just wanting one goalkeeper. Didn't work out at Arsenal, and it wasn't going to work for Brighton either. I like the idea. Nice to try something new, but just stick with Verbruggen, and it's paid off. Like we were always saying, give him consistency, and he'll get better, and he absolutely has. And yeah, he's going to be unbelievable for us next year as our number 1 consistently. Maybe keep Jason Steele. I saw someone linking Jason Steele to Arsenal. Apparently they want him as like a 2nd or 3rd goalkeeper, which would be insane. But I hope we keep Jason Steele.
Actually,
for the
I
vibes.
did see that, you know.
Yeah.
Matty Ryan vibes, that is.
Yeah, I would like us to keep Jason Steele as a number 2 because he's great around the club. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next season having Verbruggen as number 1 because he's been great recently.
And Jack, your thoughts on Bart?
Yeah, Bart, really good. You know, Jason Steele's number 1 fan here. I think he's still got a role to play. I think definitely is that sort of 2nd, 3rd choice keeper because he's got a lot of experience. He's great mentality. So I wouldn't mind seeing him staying as the 3rd choice. And at the end of the day, 3rd choice goalkeeper is not like the most desirable job in the world if you're a young player, are you? You're going to want to play. You know, I feel bad for Tom McGill to a certain extent. I mean, I'm sure that the money helps because he's probably not on a lot more money than me. But it's one of these things where, you know, I just think of the young player, Tom McGill, getting in the Canadian national team. Surely there must be a point where he wants to, you know, have a crack at being a 1st choice goalkeeper somewhere. So I wouldn't begrudge him moving on. And then I think Steele in his older age, very settled here, works on the homegrown quota. I think it'd be a great option to keep around and then potentially bringing in Rushworth or Beadle as number 2.
Yeah.
And then
I was going to ask a question about Carl Rushworth because obviously there's a lot of talk. I think it's where Ipswich were linked with him this morning that I read, and that doesn't particularly surprise me, although I can't see us loaning him in the Premier League.
That'd be a huge
could
step.
see maybe the whole rotation thing again. If I'm being honest, I don't think we'll just stick with a number 1, especially with the young players we've got coming through. I just can't see that not happening. As much as I do agree with it to an extent. I do agree with Jack in the sense of being Jason Steele's number 1 fan. I actually think that we do forget, and a lot of the fans do forget how good Steele was, particularly at the end of last season. Was so pivotal, especially losing Sanchez in the way we did, in stepping in and being a number 1 for the end of the season, but also playing the way that we obliterated teams at the end of last season. I'm not saying
you can be good and then
Villa 6-1
go miles off it though. Like look at Casemiro. Like he went from being a great
and
player, but now he's completely off it. Like it does happen quickly. And same Ben Foster said it as a goalkeeper. Like that's when he just randomly quit Wrexham. Like in 6 games into the season because he'd realised I'm miles off it right now. I need to stop. Like as a goalkeeper, you get found out a lot more quicker. I think as an outfielder. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jason Steele has just had some poor form. And
no, I agree
still
with
is
it.
at that level.
I agree with it. And I do agree that Bart's better than Steele now. But I do think I agreed with the moment in terms of whenever Bart did come in, there was a few mistakes, but at the same time, he needed more game time to stop making them mistakes. But we do forget as well, Bart's only 21. which is an insane age for a goalkeeper. It really, really is an insane age for a goalkeeper in the Premier League, and being Dutch number one goalkeeper. But my point is, with Carl Rushworth obviously coming in, I can just see that maybe being a rotation option next season. Again, I'm not De Zerbi. He probably has something way different to what I'm saying here. But I wouldn't be surprised then to see that happen. I don't know about you, Jack, but do you agree that maybe Carl stays? I think Beadle will probably go on loan again.
Yeah, I think
personally,
I'd like to see. Do you know, it's weird with the goalkeepers. We've just got so bloody many.
Yeah,
you know,
and good ones at that.
Good, and I think. Well, I've been told that it's because goalkeepers are an incredibly undervalued market at the moment. So if we can get a load of good ones brought in, then we can sell them for high, and that is ultimately our model. As much as some people might disagree with it, and I disagree with it a bit, you know, sort of hoarding players, but it is what it is. You know, I think Beadle, he had a decent season at the back end of with Sheffield Wednesday, who've managed to stay up.
Yep.
I think a lot of that contributed down to him being very solid defensively. He made a couple of mistakes, but he's a young goalkeeper. I mean, Rushworth made plenty of mistakes when he was a young goalkeeper, and you know, he's in England rumours. I don't think they're quite true. That he might be involved in the England squad, so or on a standby list. I'd like to see Beadle go up to a higher championship club, one that maybe play good passing football, just to see, because that's obviously. I don't think it's ever going to change at Brighton now that we are going to be a club who suddenly revert back to type and play a bit of hoofball, because I just don't think we're ever going to be that team ever again now. I think we built the club, you know, when you watch the 18s, 21s, we play sort of passing football. So generation upon generation play this style to get them up to a good level. So I think he's got to go to do that and get experience in doing that. And then I don't see why he can't make his claim. But we've just got so many good young goalkeepers. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Do you think they maybe loan it? I think that the loans that we do are unbelievable, by the way. I think it's one of the most underrated things in picking a good loan and a right loan.
Yeah.
But sending them to a team maybe that does play a little bit more hoofball and a little bit more Route 1, but then, you know, finding out that that's not their thing, it's a bit of a wake-up call sort of thing. Then they go into a bit more of a tactical approach in the next year, shine in a different way, you know, use their feet a little bit more from having to save a lot more shots beforehand. You know, that might be the thinking with Beadle in terms of you've had to play at the bottom of the league. Now we're going to give you a little bit more of a chance at playing at someone that's going to be pushing a little bit higher, whether that's in the mid-table spots playoffs or whether that's in the promotion, direct promotion, I don't know. But I do think Beadle, I mean, he looks like such a talent. I mean, from what people tell me, I obviously don't watch him every week, I'm not going to lie, but from what people tell me, he's meant to be one of the better talents in English football right now, and one of them that's going to stick around. Probably not just here, but in the England setup as well. Anyway, I do think it's a very important thing in making them right.
I think I'm just going to say quickly on the loans. Like, I think I was talking to a Palace fan about this, weirdly, of all clubs, and he was saying like none of our loans work out, and I just think what we've done really well, and probably why we're having more success in the first team, but maybe not. You know, because Palace's under 21 are undoubtedly a very good side, and they're under 18, so get to very high places. But when they go out on loan, they don't
talent-wise.
Talent-wise, but they don't go anywhere. And I think the difference is that we have some very good under 21 players, but we send them on the right loans and they build up. Whereas if you concentrate or you keep them in-house, you can't always bring them up to certain levels. Unless they're a really special talent. I mean, like Evan Ferguson or Phil Foden was someone who never went out on loan, and he did, you know, because they knew he was a special talent. Whereas, you know, it's also
about the player as well, I think, is knowing if they don't want to go, and that was what was interesting when you speak to these young players, is if they don't want to go, don't send them, because they're not going to be happy, and it's no point in doing it. I know a lot of players around my age groups that have gone to these loans, they've hated their time, wanted to come home because they've been a bit homesick. They are young kids, right? At the end of the day, they're young kids. They don't want to be away from home. If they can avoid that, they want to stay at home. And I get it. So it's about picking them right moments and you know, sending them the right places when they're ready for it, and also the right places in terms of tactical wise. I think as you say, Beadle will be a very good player. We've done Rushworth very well. We've done Rushworth very well.
And that's
Walsall, Worthing.
Yeah, Yeah, Worthing. I know, back in the day.
Swansea.
But I think that's why we do so well with the... Sorry to go on about the academy for 5 minutes, but...
No, it's good. It's good chat.
That's why we do so well with the loan manager. You know, Gordon Gridge did that job for a long time, and he was really good at sort of arranging the loans so they're good loans. And it's a really important role to have now. You know, you see loan managers at loads of clubs. And then, I mean, the biggest success story, as much as he winds me up so much, I mean, the biggest success story of our entire loan system and building up the loans was Ben White, who went League Two, League One, Championship, fantastic loans, played at us, and then went on to probably better than us, as much as he annoys me as a person.
No, he's done an exceptionally good job.
Very, very good
he's
player.
class.
Yeah. So I can't criticise him too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Ben, any thoughts on above topic, or are you happy?
I was going to say mentioning loans, I know it was a couple of days ago, but a quote from Deniz Undav saying when he was asked if he wants to stay at Stuttgart, he said absolutely, which is a bit of a shame. And then he said, I've said what I want often enough. Now we have to see what happens. The ball is in Stuttgart's and Brighton's court. Do we want a player that's absolutely keen to stay at Stuttgart? Because I know some of the fans want him back as an option up front.
I think people read too much into player quotes in general. If he gets given a good enough role at Brighton, like
in the Premier League,
in the Premier League, he's on decent wages here. Everybody seems to think the whole thing about Undav going back to Germany was homesickness. I don't think it was. It was about wanting to play games, and I think it was fair to say
and get into the Euros, wasn't it? Which he's done.
Get into the Euros, which he's done really well with. Maybe he'll want another crack at the Premier League. You know, with the striker options that we have, I think he will get game time. You know, Ferguson probably doubts slightly over his injury record, so he'll get opportunities there. Welbeck probably in his waning years, always been doubts over his injury record. Pedro can play as a number 10. He's not an out-and-out striker. He can play all round, really. That front three, front four. So for me, I think he'd do really well if he comes back, and I think if he has those options, he'll get a good chance. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with Stuttgart, because at the end of the day, Stuttgart, the ball is in their court. If they want to do that fee, that's their choice. I have a funny feeling he's going to stay still. I think wages will be the problem. Yeah,
I hope he does. Yeah, I think his mind will easily be changed when Zerbi or whoever's in charge says you will get minutes in the Premier League. He'll absolutely bite your hand off that for sure, especially after, fingers crossed, does get called up to the Germany squad, which I imagine he will do, because they're pretty light for strikers. I remember at the last major tournament they had that Fulkrug guy who was actually in the league below the Bundesliga, and he was there like starting striker. So I'm sure he will get called up. Very happy for him to do so, and then hopefully he'll have a good tournament and then come back and start getting goals for Brighton. Hopefully Brighton fans will get behind him again, like we did toward the end of his last season.
Agree. I want Deniz to stay, just to say, just not to repeat everything you've said, but just to say, yeah, I do. Will he stay? Not sure. I think it's just one of them wait and sees. There's no point speculating. He knows what he wants. De Zerbi knows what he wants. The club know what they want. Just wait and see. I think the summer's going to be massive, as we've said so many times. And Deniz will be a part of them massive decisions. Yes, Jack Hinchelwood was in the crowd, quite amusingly, next to my sister, which was quite funny.
No way.
My sister's first away game, and she sat next to Jack Hinchelwood, which is very weird. I didn't realise it was him until I walked down to where they were sitting to go see them at half time, and I thought, oh, Jack, you're right, mate. By the way, top guy. Very happy to be in the away end, which is great. I think that's very important, that we keep these players that, you know, do still love the club beyond just being on the pitch. I think that's a very important part of the club that we have. And it was good to see him just putting it on his Instagram, saying he was in the away end, quite proudly, being a Brighton fan before anything else. Although, Jack, I do wonder, mate, if you were on right back, if you could have stopped that one, because I do think you could have done. But no, top man, Jack Hinchelwood. And also, we've seen it so many times. He was at Brentford, wasn't he, with Tony Bloom.
Down at Bournemouth. I had a
great lad.
chat with him down at Bournemouth.
He's
down at Bournemouth.
Didn't realise that.
There's a lot of Hinchelwood. Adam Senior was in the away end as well. On obviously it's not too far from York, is it? So he was up there.
Yeah, very, very true.
And then, well, you know, the forgotten Hinchwoods. No, I just know his cousin and his uncle. They were up there. His cousin was having a very good time in Market.
Yeah, they go away quite a lot, don't they?
Yeah, they were. He was having a good time in Market
Fair
Shaker
enough.
at about 2 a.m. So yeah, he looked well. Saw him outside.
Yeah,
Greg,
have you got any fun stories from your weekend, Jack? That you can share?
Plenty. Yeah, no, it was. I was about to say one that I shouldn't really share there. About someone in a window, but we'll move on from that one. Getting flashbacks to Europa League there. Yeah, no, it's good. I love Newcastle as a city. It's a great city. Like
it is a great city.
Like it is genuinely like best city for pubs. As much as the Geordies, you know, I don't, and I said it to many of them. I don't agree with their ownership situation, but it doesn't stop them being a very welcoming city, and you can see why, you know, a massive nation state would pick that city to invest in, because it is, you know, it's an amazing place to go watch football. You know, you walk up to the ground in the middle of the city after a few drinks.
It's aura, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's not many.
So cool.
There's not many pubs where you can't go in and they won't let you in. They're more than happy to have a drink with you. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed Newcastle away. Had 2 cracking nights out. It's really good. And lovely weather. You know, like the whole country saw the Northern Lights on Friday night. You know, it's amazing.
Mate, I'm so gutted about
Everybody
this.
saw the Northern Lights, and I was stuck in a nightclub while 2 of my friends screamed murder on the dance floor in my face at 2 a.m. instead of seeing like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Mate,
I know where I'd rather be.
I went outside to look for it and I couldn't see it.
And
everyone was talking about it and I couldn't, no idea.
And where you'd
and
rather
we're all
be,
the way up north, they couldn't see
I know.
Lights.
And where you'd rather be, Ben, is in Potwell, Newcastle, with
Exactly.
people screaming that song in your face. So,
Exactly.
But no, yeah, it was a cracking weekend. So it's a good way to end the season. You know, I did 100% of
It was
100% of away games this season, and it was, you know, 27 out of 27, and it was really, really good to sort of end it on a high note with really good friends, really good weekend. And a decent result to get out of it, really. I think it was, it's been a long old season, I'll tell you that, after doing 100% of the games. So, yeah.
It feels like a long end to the season, doesn't it? It really is. It's, you know, last season where we were like, it's just completely flown by and it feels like a distant memory now. Whereas this season seemed to have really dragged on since Christmas time. And that's because of so many injuries and all this European stuff and January transfer window and summer transfer window, De Zerbi talk. It's been a mad 5 months of football. But yeah, I agree, Jack. It was a nice way to round it off, and it was a great day as well in terms of weather wise. So it meant you could look around a little bit without having to be freezing cold. And yeah, it just is a nice city, innit? You can't lie.
Had some lovely masala fries yesterday. Oh, I'm thinking about them now.
Did you?
On
Masala
the
I
coast.
was across the Tyne Bridge, you know, yesterday.
It was under
because
the Tyne
I
Bridge,
wanted to do a bit of touristy stuff. I went in the morning. Yeah, did you go to that little market?
Got
the
some. Well, they were called dirty Indian fries, and I didn't rate that.
Nice.
At all. That's what they just
Got me pushing the boundary of racism.
And so I was like, I'm just going to call them masala fries, and then I go, what did you get? I went, dirty Indian fries, weirdly. So, but no, they were good. It was a nice city. Good weekend all round. So,
no, all good. Good stuff. Cool. Yeah, I think that's just about everything, really.
Yeah,
I don't think there's too much else to say. It's been a mad season, hasn't it? I mean, we're not quite there yet, but we nearly are.
One more player I want to shout out for a good performance, actually. Despite him getting slated by Duncan De Zerbi at one point, I did think Igor did really well at left back.
I actually agree with you.
With the pace of their wingers, he just seemed to outstride them. He didn't need to outpace them. He just got a massive stride, didn't he? And he just sort of walks up to them and stops them. I think it was Almiron. He had pretty much pocketed to the point where he had to dive. So, yeah, I think he did really well. Oh, and another thing I will say, I'll get it all out now. I did think Newcastle were a lot better when they brought on Joe Linton. And I think if Joe Linton had started, it might have been a different game.
Just an them, wasn't he?
Appreciation of
Joe Linton.
Yeah, Joe Linton. My mum actually thought his name was Joe Linton for ages.
It's a very fair mistake to make.
She just thought his name was Joe Linton.
Very valid.
And And
Joe Linton.
Yeah, no, I just appreciation of another player. When he came on, I thought he really changed the game for them. So just shout out him.
No, he is. They're a good team. They're a good team. You know, they are. I think we did very well to get a point there.
Yeah.
To even say, dare I say, push the win there. I thought we were close enough to it to say that. At the same time, yes, they had a couple of chances. Yes, they could have scored a few themselves, and that makes a draw a fair result in the end. But I do think, looking at that first half, you do look back and think there was a lot of chances there. Particularly that Julio one comes to mind, and Adingra cutting inside. But yeah, there's a lot to take away. And actually, one thing that I'll say just on Julio and Adingra is these are the players that wouldn't have been playing so much, and these are the players that are so young but are getting these opportunities. So the way I look at it is next season, say we do get some transfers in, say we do get Mitoma and Solly back, hopefully in decent time. You know, it's only going to bolster the squad in terms of experience that they're gaining now. Even though we do have to suffer that naivety at times, it does mean that we get that naivety scratched out before another new season. Where I think we'll be good. I actually have a lot of confidence going into the end of the last two games.
I think as well, there's a lot of similarities between us and Newcastle. Like between us and Newcastle, there's a lot of, you know, with both teams who sort of last season went hell for leather to get European qualification. They did quite well in the Champions League considering their injuries, and then all of a sudden,
very unlucky in that PSG game, weren't they?
And then you get round to sort of, you know, at the end of the season, at the December time, and it just suddenly like everybody's just fucked. And to put it lightly, and I think that's what sort of happened. It sort of unravelled for both teams there, whereas they sort of fallen away from Europe a little bit. I think they should just sneak in, dependent on other results. So yeah, I think they've just sort of gone hell for leather like us, and they've just sort of hit a wall a little bit. So I think they need a good summer transfer window like us to sort of. And I think they will be good. And I think Villa will have that.
They've got enough money for it, haven't they? They'll be fine. Yeah. They've got enough money for it.
They'll want us to do them a favour. They want us to do a favour on Wednesday, won't they, against Chelsea?
Yeah. Well, listen, we did all right. Roll on the last couple of games. All I want to do is beat Chelsea, to be honest. I don't care about Man United at all, although I do fancy them. I do think, everyone's looking at Chelsea, not just the fans. But we'll see. Roll on the week. Thank you, boys, for joining me. Of course, as always, Jack for filling in. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Get us on.
I was going to say, I'm filling in every week at the moment. I think this is like third in a row now.
Mate, honestly, we had this conversation where I actually don't know the amount of times this season where we've actually all three of us been on the podcast. It's
good,
mad.
though. You're basically a host at the end of the day now, Jack.
Yeah, you are really. You're part of this.
We won't do that shit show again.
Joining me, boys.
When I hosted, that
we'll see you next time. Stream us on Spotify. Leave us a rating as well, and we'll see you very, very soon. And goodbye.